Welcome to Innovation Israel, the show that brings you the latest news and cutting-edge achievements directly from Tel Aviv, the heart of the startup nation. Today's show is all about mobility, whether in the sky with drones, with autonomous vehicles, or with public transportation. Three startups, Percepto, Tactile Mobility, and TripNwise, all are innovating the field. But first, a few headlines out of Israel. Israel was recently ranked among the top 10 most innovative countries in the world by the UN World Intellectual Property Organization's Global Innovation Index, breaking into the top 10 for the first time. The GII is an annual ranking which measures a country's innovation performance and progress. It's conducted by the UN in collaboration with Cornell University and INSEAD, one of the leading business schools in the world. And Israel has been steadily climbing the ranking since 2016, when it ranked 21st in the world. In 2017, it came in at 17th, and last year it was ranked 11th worldwide. This year's edition analyzes medical innovation for the next decade and takes a closer look at how technological and non-technological medical innovation will transform the delivery of healthcare globally. And it also explores the role of medical innovation in shaping the future of healthcare and this sector's influence on economic growth. As such, the report takes into account 80 individual indicators and examines some 129 countries. And it divides the categories into subpillars which focus on elements that enable innovative activities like institutions, human capital and research, infrastructure, market sophistication, and business sophistication, as well as actual evidence of innovation output like knowledge and technology and creative outputs. All these indicators are calculated to receive a final ranking. And it's no surprise that Israel has ranked in at the top 10 and is at the forefront of cutting-edge technology, especially when it comes to the medical field. As the country also launched a new innovative initiative last year called Digital Health as a Growth Engine, which aims to boost economic and social benefits in the field of digitalization of healthcare systems. And let's not forget that Israel is a world leader in other areas as well, such as cybersecurity, drones, cannabis, and so much more. We are fast approaching what some scientists say is the point of no return in environmental damage. And in response, some countries have enacted legislation, such as the banning of plastic straws to reduce plastic pollution. But when it comes to plastic awareness, Israel has not been doing such a great job. At home, many Israeli families continue to opt for single-use plastics instead of conventional tableware. And if that's not enough, most municipalities in Israel do not offer regular recycling services at all. But there is reason for hope, as 8 Israeli companies recently highlighted by the Daily Calcalist are now using technology in very innovative ways, with the goal of counteracting the country's bad plastic habits. Additionally, each company offers a very different approach to reducing our reliance on disposable plastics. For example, Tipa Corp Ltd. manufactures fully compostable alternatives to conventional plastic bags. Baram Industries produces biodegradable packaging for the food industry as well as biodegradable kitchenware. Tel Aviv-based UBQ Materials has patented a process of converting food waste, soiled cardboard, paper, and mixed plastics into a reusable bio-based plastic-like material. And that's only 3 out of the 8. So while Israel's plastic awareness is certainly lagging behind that of other countries, this is the innovation nation. And practical, creative approaches like this have the potential to significantly protect our environment from further harm. Israel is a world power when it comes to drones for the military and commercial sectors. And my next guest is at the forefront of this industry. Percepto has developed a drone in a box and software that operates autonomously either on demand or on a fixed schedule, allowing for aerial surveillance in dangerous or hard-to-reach locations. And here to tell us all about it is Ariel Avitan, co-founder and CCO of Percepto. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So let's jump right in. What exactly does Percepto do?
So Percepto creates a full autonomous systems that you put on the ground, especially in critical sites, and the drone conducts autonomous missions throughout the day. So there's no need for a pilot, and everything is remotely controlled. It provides 3 main layers of value: security, safety, and inspection, and then collects continuous data so that we can then disseminate it, analyze it, and then insights for the sites themselves.
So let's talk a little bit about the commercial drones industry, right? It's had its ups and downs, we've seen, but mainly it's still an ever-growing industry and expanding into more and more fields. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Sure. Well, drone started as a big hype, right? Everybody knows about drones, everybody uses drones, but then now it's starting to mellow down into what the actual, what can you do with a drone, right? A lot of commercial companies know what drones can do, but there's a lot of limitations, of course, the FAA and the regulations that limit the amount of value that the drones can bring. And now we're starting to see, the different kinds of companies, if it's software companies, hardware companies, software and system companies like ours, that start to provide the real ROI to the system and how that system can provide, real tangible, either cost reduction or increase of profitability to the clients. And the drone section is starting to grow. There's, normal drones that you can use at home, but there's like ruggedized systems like ours that are, made to be in very harsh conditions, and drones that are, VTOL, for example, that can go long distances. We're starting to see more and more specific drones for specific use cases, because that's how we can see the ROI at the end.
Right, it's important to let our viewers know that there's basically different categories of drones, right?
Exactly.
There's drones for personal use, for recreation, commercial drones, and then, of course, military drones.
Of course.
Okay, so what makes Percepto unique?
So I think if we take the whole drone category, everybody talks about there's so many competitions and so on, but at the end, the DIB, the drone in a box subcategory, is a very small one, and because it has a lot of AI and machine learning capabilities, that's what enables the drones to be autonomous. There's not a lot of players out there. So Percepto is the forefront there. We're the most deployed system in the world. We have systems from Australia, Singapore, Korea, through Europe, and then Mexico, Chile, and so on. And we use these drones for mainly critical sites. So if it's utilities, we're deployed in a nuclear facility, we're deployed in gas refineries, and then throughout mining, we're the only company that has a system in airbase, which is the most complex environment for these drones. And the drones, because they're fully autonomous, they use AI and machine vision for collecting data analysis, can provide a lot of value. The first part is taking the human out of the loop in dangerous locations, right? If we're doing security in an area like Mexico, not a lot of people want to do security there. So the drone does the inspection. It has human detection and tracking, and it enables us to increase the security while reducing the overall operational costs. The second layer is safety. A lot of these sites have a lot of safety issues, if it's gas leaks or fires and so on. The drones knows how to get that, different kinds of sensors, and fly there and provide better situational awareness. So when you come, when there is an issue like that, the site manager gets a real-time view from a day camera, a throwing camera, and has a better way of addressing the actual issue with a lower time response. And then the third, of course, is inspection. That's what commercial companies buy the drones for. But the ability for us to collect continuous data enables us to start looking at degradation, start looking at different kinds of inspections that are today done either manually or as a service, which is both costs a lot.
So I mean, Percepto literally saves lives. And are we going to be seeing drones replace humans in these fields sort of more and more as we go into the future?
Definitely we're going to replace tasks, not humans. The humans actually have to fix something. The drone cannot fix it. But sending someone into
a
chimney,
anyway.
hopefully we're going to see that as well. But sending someone to a very big chimney, or that's a risk factor that nobody needs to do.
Yeah.
You only need to do it when there's something wrong. So send the drone, make sure that he knows how to collect that data. And same with areas that are very dangerous because of gas leaks or gas prawns, fires. Locations that are pure blasts, for example, in mining, there's no need to send a person. But we're not there for replacing people. We're there to making sure that the site is much more efficient. The ability for us to always look at the site, collect that data, and then disseminate it makes other people work faster, and then that means that site is much more productive and safe, which is the biggest concern for the big oil and gas utilities and mining companies.
And you talked a little bit about the technology. Can you expand on that a little bit?
So Percepto started as a machine vision company. We never started as a full system company. What we did at the beginning is create a small module that enables DJI drones to run after people, right? We're using machine vision. But what we understood is that companies like Shell or BP or Enel won't buy a technology. They want to buy a full solution that provides them value. So we took the technology that enables us, machine vision capabilities, that enables us full autonomous systems, and created a hardware on top of it. And that enables us now to have a system that is cost efficient, has a very big ROI on the missions that they do, and use machine vision for that specific tailing. And now we're using our machine vision department to create anomaly detection on the fly and in real time, gas detection, fire detection, and so on, just adding more and more tasks that today humans are doing, right? Make them autonomous, make them automatic, so now we can do it with less risk to the people and more effort for the clients.
And that's a key phrase you mentioned, sort of an end-to-end solution that you provide.
Exactly.
Because, for example, it's no secret that DJI sort of dominates the market, right? They have, I think, over 70% share, something like that. And so, is that how Perceptive is able to compete with such a giant?
I think that DJI creates systems that are from a hobby to prosumer. There's no real heavy ruggedized systems. For example, this drone, our drone, the Sparrow, can work in ruggedized rain. Is ruggedized to work in rain, snow. We're working in Milwaukee in February, and we're working in the deserts of Mexico, and the system works. And that's what we're putting a lot of emphasis on, because usually an oil and gas refining won't be in the middle of Manhattan. It's going to be in a ruggedized location. So we're putting a lot of emphasis in that. DJI are not in there. The second thing is that it's not only about the actual hardware, which is DJI is a master in doing. It's also about the way you work and what kind of software did you add to it to make sure that the data is disseminated into insights, and that these insights can be sent to the clients to take action. And that's a lot of our work. Like if you take the whole Perceptive company, 70% of it is software engineers, not hardware engineers, because we put a lot of emphasis on how to collect that data, but then what do we do with that data to make insights for our clients.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for taking the time
to
speak with us today.
Thank you.
One of the main critiques of autonomous vehicles is that they lack the human touch, the ability to actually feel the road. Well, that's where my next guest comes in. Tactile Mobility has developed innovative tech that brings this missing tactile sense to autonomous vehicles, letting self-driving cars not only see the road, but also feel it. And here to tell us more about it is Amit Nissenbaum, CEO of Tactile Mobility. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
So what exactly does Tactile Mobility do?
As you said, Tactile Mobility augments the usual senses that people know that autonomous vehicles have, which is the sense of sight, facilitated by LiDAR, radar, and as such, with the ability not only to look at the road, but also to feel the road.
So can we talk a little bit about this? Can you elaborate maybe on the main challenges that's facing the autonomous vehicles industry today? They can see the road, they can't feel the road. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Of course. I think that the best way to think about it is through the use cases that autonomous vehicles can address today, and the ones that we will need to address if we want them to become a mass market product. So if you think to yourself about today's autonomous vehicles, usually you see them roaming around coffee shops, maybe stuck on a traffic jam on the 280 or the 101 in California, but you will be pressed to see an autonomous vehicle doing, for instance, an on or off a ramp maneuver, meaning getting on the highway or off the highway. Reason being is that those kind of use cases require those vehicles to have the same senses that a human being has when we drive on the road. And if you think about it, when we drive on the road, we're not only looking at the road, we're also feeling it. And going back to that use case of on-off ramp maneuver, if you think about it, we're feeling how we're getting into the ramp. We feel if we're getting thrown away because we entered it too fast. We're feeling if we're hitting a bump or a pothole and we need to adjust. And autonomous vehicles need to be able to do the same.
And so how does Tactile Mobility compensate for this?
Well, I think that one of the things that are interesting about Tactile Mobility is that we're a software-only solution. We have an embedded software that is being embedded in the vehicles, on one of the vehicle computers, on one of the ECUs, and we leverage data from multiple non-visual existing sensors such as wheel speed, wheel angle, RPM, and so on and so forth. And the smartness of our solution is the ability to ingest all of that data, to fuse it, to clean it from noises, and then to apply AI on it in order to derive insights and valuable information that is being fed back into the vehicle computer in order for those to have better context, to make better informed driving decisions.
And when you say better informed driving decisions, I mean, do you mean solely sort of maneuvers that today are unavailable, or as well as safety issues such as braking on time, things like that?
Interesting that you bring up braking, because the answer to your question is yes, it's both, okay? And if we're focusing on braking, for instance, one of the things that we can allow is to enable ABS systems, the systems that allow a vehicle to brake and not to slip, to shorten the braking distance. I won't get into the nitty-gritty technology details, but that's one of the value propositions that we have, even for vehicles of today.
And that's a challenge that has been a challenge, at least for vehicles of today. We've heard in the news a number of incidents where vehicles haven't been able to brake on time,
Right.
Uber vehicles, things like that. So
Right.
can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So, for instance, if I will give you, I won't opine on the Uber cases, etc., or the Waymo. But what I can tell you, I can elaborate a little bit about that use case. So, imagine to yourself the adaptive cruise control functionality. That functionality of cruise control that also adapts the vehicle speed in order to keep a set distance from the vehicle ahead of it. So, using visual sensors, that vehicle can know the distance from the front vehicle, the speed of the vehicle, of course, its own speed, and to calculate conceptually what the distance should be in order to keep a safe distance. However, today, those vehicles cannot know what is called the grip level. How sharply can they brake before they will start to slip? And without knowing that, the vehicle computers need to take a safe approach and to keep a large distance. Now, one will think that that's a good thing. From some perspective, yes, but it's not natural. It's not a natural experience for the driver and the passenger. And even more so, ironically, it's not as safe. And the reason being is that if you keep too large of a distance, someone, especially in Israel, might cut in, and all of a sudden it becomes less safe. So the ability to equip the vehicles with, for instance, information about the grip level is enhancing safety and user experience.
And I'm curious, so what stage are you in now? Is this technology already out there? Is it implemented in cars? Is it working?
Indeed. It is being implemented and being further implemented in several what is called OEMs, car manufacturers. We're working with 7 car manufacturers in North America and Europe. Most of them, unfortunately, I cannot disclose the name. One that has been talked about is Ford, that we have a very strong and very exciting partnership with.
Well, great. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today and for keeping us all safe on the road.
Thank you very much for having me.
If you've ever traveled around the world, then you know that one of the most problematic issues is often transportation in a foreign country. Figuring out how to pay for public transportation, getting ripped off by taxis, let alone figuring out how to get from point A to point B in a foreign language, are just a few of the problems that travelers face. And here in Israel, it's no different, as public transportation can be daunting for some tourists. And that's where my next guest comes in. TripAndWise is an innovative solution helping tourists coming to Israel navigate the public transportation system. And here to tell us all about it is Yaniv Greenblatt, co-founder and CEO of TripAndWise. Welcome.
Hello, Lidar.
So what exactly does TripAndWise do?
TripAndWise is a new solution that provides for tourists a new service of actually we issue and reload and also ship door-to-door the RAV-CAV card.
And for those who don't know what a RAV-CAV card is.
RAV-CAV card is a smart transportation card in Israel that you can use it for all kinds of public transportations, trains, buses, and from next month also the big taxis.
And can you tell me a little bit about how you came up with this idea? I know that you and your co-founder share a love of travel.
Right, so me and my friend, Snir, we traveled a lot around the world, and we saw many cultures, many kinds of countries, and we had many experience. And after the legalization back in January, we felt like there is a big gap between the expectations and between the lack of infrastructure that actually happens here in Israel. And we saw that gap, and we decided to get inside and to provide a new service for the tourist.
Okay, so for our viewers who may not be familiar, when you talk about the legislation, what you're basically talking about is legislation that was recently passed regarding public transportation.
Right.
So do you want to tell us a little bit about it?
Yes. From the last January, nobody can pay cash on public buses. So you have to issue your own public transportation card.
And that can be a very challenging task for tourists, right? I think the idea was meant to help locals, but it inadvertently has caused some difficulties for tourists. So how does TripAndWise work exactly?
TripAndWise is a website, tripandwise.com, that actually we provide it to all kinds of hosts. It can be hostels, Airbnb managers, hotels, anyone who come in contact with tourists. We provide them the service, and all they need to do is just to ask the tourist if he would like to use this service or not.
To get the LAV card for public transportation.
Yeah.
Because today, right, if you want to get a LAV card, you have to go to a specific location, buy it, pay for it.
Yeah, and there are like very few locations like that, and also they have opening hours. And if you have luck, your hotel is like near one, and if you don't, so you have to take a taxi, and that's a bad tourist experience.
Taxis, well, I mean, they're more expensive, obviously, than the public
Right.
transportation. And
No, you have to take taxis to the place because you
take a
can't go
taxi
by
to
bus.
the place, of course. So even getting to one of
Right.
these spots where you can buy a LAV card is a challenge.
Right.
And so you offer the service to hotels and hostels, and you also
Any
offer it
kinds of
directly to the
hospitals.
consumer, correctly?
Exactly. Yeah.
So can you tell us how someone, let's say I'm a tourist, I'm coming to Israel, how can I access this card?
We have our website. For now, we're working by collaborations with all kinds of hospitalities. So they actually do for us the marketing, and that's all.
And this is out there right now. It's working right
Right.
now. If tourists are watching this, they're coming to Israel soon.
Tripandwise.com, right?
Tripandwise.com. They can go on to tripandwise.com and purchase one of these.
All they need to
LAV
do
cards.
is to choose the travel arrangement. Either they're going to Haifa or Jerusalem or Tel Aviv. Either they're staying for 1 week or more, and they just need to choose the product, check out, and that's all.
And they get the card, and then once in Israel, they can use public transportation
Exactly.
in an easy manner. Wonderful. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today.
Thank you very much.
Well, that's all the time we have for today's show. I'd like to thank the amazing startups who joined us today. And remember to like us on Facebook at Israel English News, on Twitter at ILTV News, and visit us on our website at iltv.tv. I'm Lajar Gavelazi. Thanks for watching.